Hi, I am Supervisor Susan Ellenberg, and welcome to this episode of In Just One More Thing. Today, we are going to be talking about guaranteed income, which is a program through which a select group of people receive regular installments of cash with no strings attached. This is a policy that is not brand new. We'll talk about it with my guest in a little bit, but just want to share that it is a policy that is now gaining a lot of attention across the country. Really, the first kind of big news iteration came from Michael Tubbs, who was the mayor in Sacramento, and he created a universal basic income, a program that gave money to a number of residents in Stockton, really at random over a particular period of time to see how it helped their stability. What we have learned since then is that we don't want to do universal, but really targeted guaranteed income for people that will most benefit from it. Former Mayor Tubbs has since created two national programs, Counties for Guaranteed Income, of which I'm a founding member, and Mayors for Guaranteed Income. And what we're doing is creating pilots all across the country and amassing data to show that this is a policy that will reduce poverty, that will stabilize individuals and families, and that will improve our economy. So stay tuned, and we're going to talk about this a lot more. Thanks for sticking with me. My guest today is going to be Melanie Jimenez Perez, who works in the county executive's office as a program manager. She has been responsible for designing our guaranteed income programs with lots of input, and implementing and, importantly, evaluating them. Stay tuned for more with Melanie. And I am back with Melanie Jimenez Perez, who is a program manager in the county executive's office. And among thousands of other tasks, she is responsible for creating, implementing, and evaluating our county's multiple guaranteed income programs. So welcome, and thank you for talking to me today. Let's start kind of high level for folks for whom this is a new concept. What is guaranteed income? We would all like guaranteed income, I'm sure.
Yes, well, thank you very much, Supervisor, for having me today. I'm really excited to explain what guaranteed income is. It is a concept that has been around for a very long time, and many of us receive it. We just may not think of it that way. So if you think about like the child tax credit, or when you think about if you get a tax rebate for buying an electric car or owning a house, you get free money without restrictions.
Free public money from the government?
Correct. You're looking at a situation where the federal government says, here you go, here's some free money, and they don't ask you how you're going to spend it. What we have done is taken a very similar concept, but applied it to those in our community who have the greatest need. And so you give them a stable amount of money for a set duration of time so that they can count on it. So it's almost like a supplemental income that allows them to meet their basic needs without any restrictions.
So let me ask you some questions about it that I have heard from people who are just not convinced that this is a sensible policy. Giving money to people with no strings attached, specifically government money, doesn't the government have a responsibility to make sure that that money is spent in a particular way?
I would say yes, the government has a responsibility, but part of that responsibility is also empowering our community so that they can stand on their own 2 feet, and we trust them to make the decisions. Many of our clients who are in our guaranteed basic income programs, they don't have a decision-making problem, they have a cash flow problem. So we're putting money in their hands, and they can tell us if they need it to fix their car, pay down their rent, rather than us telling them what to do. So I see this as the best way a county can honor our role as a safety net, but also bridge them to their own independence and just support their decision-making process.
Is there evidence that people are spending their money on things that you described, education, housing costs, car costs?
Absolutely. I would say one of the most challenging things is to come up with some overall broad data, because a lot of the change that we see is on the individual level. But you have the Stockton Seed Project that took off during the pandemic, which has already released their findings, where they found that their participants were getting more gainful employment. Our first pilot, we saw that they were getting more meaningful employment. So rather than working 3 gig-styled employment positions, they were investing in themselves and getting training to get one meaningful career. And I'm happy to say many of those are here in our county, working with their own community because they wanted to give back to a community that they then felt a part of. But this has also been happening internationally. And for folks who are interested, we do have a website that shares links to some of those studies, because this model is not just taking off here in California. We have partners around the world who have been doing this longer than we have.
So we're not talking about giving people enough money such that they're disincentivized from working, correct?
Absolutely. I can tell you now, having gone through almost 300 participants, not one says, oh, great, I don't need to work. They say, you know, that's not enough to rent a 1-bedroom apartment, right? And we say yes. So they say, but this is great because I can pay off my debt and keep working, and then I can start saving, which is why our program is 2 years, because we're trying to get them on a better path so that they have some breathing room to make some decisions that are more about their long-term improvement rather than just getting by day to day.
So if 2 years is determined to be the sweet spot, what kind of longitudinal data do we have, maybe 5 years or 10 years out, as to whether that has made a sustainable difference?
I'd say that's definitely where we're going to be turning towards next. We do continue to monitor our clients through the 3rd year. They have to do surveys, but they get compensated for their times. But what we are now looking to as a region is how do we come together and continue to gather that data to make that case. And one area that we weren't anticipating is also the generational impact. Many of our participants use their money for their children to get into tutoring and after school. And so we want to continue to follow up with them to see if that puts them on a better academic footing so that they don't end up in many of our county services as well.
So our county has four pilots currently. Can you say a little bit about each one of them?
Yes, I like to say that we have 4 that are going to lead to 880 individuals in our community benefiting from a guaranteed basic income program. We have done a full cohort of former foster youth, and we're halfway through our 2nd cohort. After that, we are now working on our unhoused high school students pilot. This is the first time anyone in the country has worked with high school students, but we're taking that leap to see if this is the right juncture in their lives where a help up might get them on the right path.
And just to quickly credit Senator Cortese, that's a pilot program that Dave started and provided the funding for our county.
Absolutely. And this is another example where the county is developing a model that we hope will take off throughout our state and then perhaps across our nation. And then our next pilot will be one that I know is near and dear to both of our hearts. It's looking at our justice-involved clients. And this is a clientele that could benefit from that commitment that, hey, your community is welcoming you back. We're supporting you, we're investing in you, and we're allowing you to take care of your needs as you see fit. And we're hoping that them seeing that we're here for them, not just with the lovely resources that are provided by our reentry services, but also that we're investing in them as individuals, that it'll break that cycle of criminal activity.
Right. And of course, you know that I brought that referral to my colleagues, and I was nervous about whether or not I would get 2 more votes in support of it, because I certainly heard some very snide comments along the lines of, well, maybe I should commit a crime so that the government gives me money. People have already done something wrong. Are we rewarding them? And what I think put me over the top to get actually a unanimous vote was that our sheriff and the other police chief who was elected in Santa Clara County, and that was Chief Nicolai from the city of Santa Clara. They both sent letters affirming that this kind of investment actually increases public safety and decreases recidivism. So through that mindset, I think that we hopefully can really make a good case for the fact that these investments keep us all safer. And the last one in our last minute.
Absolutely. I'm very hopeful, but our last one we will be doing is young parents. And that one is really focusing on individuals who are now becoming parents themselves, who either as children were involved in the foster care system or child support services or the juvenile probation system, because we want to break that cycle and support them as they now become parents so that their children are starting their lives off on the right footing.
Melanie, thank you so much for walking me through all of this. You know that I am a true believer in this work, and I just have really so much appreciation and admiration for the way you are taking on these, even if they are not new in a global sense, they're new in our county. It takes, I think, bold leadership and incredible commitment to follow through. One of the things that you shared in another convening where we were speaking together was how invested you've become really in each individual participant and what how significant that is to success. So as we scale up, we'll need a few more of you, and we'll have to figure out how to do that. But thank you so much for talking with us today.
Yes, and I just want to thank you for your leadership, because you let us grow to a team that can give our participants that one-on-one attention. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll be back. So Halloween is fast approaching as we record this episode, and if you've been with me for a while, you know that I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and the end of October in Pittsburgh can be really, really cold. So mostly I remember that whatever my costume was, it had to be big enough to fit over a big winter coat or even a snowsuit. So my costumes were these giant things that had to hold inside all of my warm layers. So it was quite something to come to California and see that people could just be outside in costumes and not be freezing to death. The other memory that I have, of course, is candy related. And again, some Pittsburgh classics. My favorite candy bars were the Clark bar and the Zagnut bar. And I don't even know if you all in California know what those are. The closest thing would probably be a Butterfinger. But that is just one more thing about me.